Good afternoon and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes, the minister at the Center for Spiritual Living, and I'm so glad that you are choosing to spend a little bit of your time with us this afternoon. Let's see. If this is your first time visiting us or checking us out, Center for Spiritual Living Ocala is just one of over 350 centers for spiritual living that are located all over the world. And these are our particular values at this Center for Spiritual Living, which is in Ocala, Florida. The number one thing on our list is spiritual growth and practice. That is the reason our center exists and why we come together as a group to grow and to learn from one another. We value love. We believe that love is what we all come from and where we all go and kind of what makes the world go round. And so we value also appreciation and community. And my gosh, we had such a great showing of community yesterday with our cleanup efforts, and I'll talk a little more about that later. We value freedom. Freedom of expression, freedom to be who we came here to be. We value creativity. We value health and wholeness. That means emotional health, physical health, the health of our planet. We value generosity. We believe in giving, and we receive as well. And we also value financial well-being. And so our mission at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala is the same as the mission of the larger organization of Centers for Spiritual Living. And that is to provide spiritual tools and practices for personal and global transformation. And our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence, meaning that we believe that human beings, that each one of us come into this world perfect, whole, and complete with everything that we need for our human journey here. And somehow, some way, we kind of forget that. And so what we try to do here at Center for Spiritual Living is to remind people of that truth and give them the tools and the practices and the ideas to get back to that original sense of wholeness and holiness. And our vision is a world that works for everyone. And so that is what we are about. And I've got some friends that I'm going to have a conversation with today. I'm excited to bring them on board. They're our regulars. We are doing a program this year that is based on the work of Valerie Kaur and her book called See No Stranger, The Revolutionary Love Project. And so every month we're taking a different aspect of what Valerie is teaching and kind of breaking that down and having conversations and seeing how those ideas apply in our own everyday lives. So we have talked about wonder as an act of revolutionary love. We have talked about grief as an act of love. And this month we are talking about fighting. Yes, we are a spiritual center and we're going to talk about what it means to fight on behalf of others in a spiritual way. Now, we're not talking about violence, but we are talking about owning our power. And so I'm going to bring in our practitioner, Donna Davis. Hey, Donna.
What's up, fam?
Hey, girl.
I'm bigger than you. I'm like, wait, there we go.
No, that's what let me step back. I'm not sure. Anyway, I was so happy to see you, and we missed you last week. I hope you and Norma had a fabulous Mother's Day, and I know it was just kind of a rough day for some folks. Just.
I'm not gonna lie, it was for me. But it's okay.
Yeah. Yes, it happens, and we have to honor that. And so, but we missed you, and I'm glad that you're here today. And I'm just looking forward to dropping in, as you pray us in and get us ready for this conversation and set the tone and all of that, as you always do so beautifully. So I'll hand it over to you.
Okie dokie.
Love ya.
All right, everybody. Good afternoon. Oh man, let's get ready for this conversation, right? Let's get ourselves into that heart space as we connect to the oneness and the great wonder of all. I invite you now to join me in this spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer. Some people just call it meditation. Whatever works for you, whatever language works for you, just getting ready for that. So I'm going to invite you now to just get settled into your seat, wherever you are, whether you're laying or sitting or driving or whatever. Just become aware of where your body is, the very presence that your body takes up. If it's comfortable for you, close your eyes. Of course, if you're driving, please don't do that. I'm gonna laugh about that, but oh man, I really need this moment of presence, this moment of settling in, this moment of becoming aware and centering myself. I lit a little incense cone, so as I take this nice deep breath in, I'm activating that sense of smell, becoming aware of my physical body. Taking the next breath in, becoming aware of the air as it rushes in and the oxygen starts to do its thing within my body. And as I breathe out, I give back to the allness. Back to trees, connecting myself. The oxygen coming in, the carbon dioxide leaving. I am one in this space with all that is. And I recognize that allness that I call God, the everything, the intelligent being that exists all around me, that is in back of all things, but also a part of all things. It is the up, the down, the in, the out, the dark, the light. It is the planet, the space in between each planet, and everything beyond. And this divine intelligence that I call God exists everywhere, forever and ever expanding. And since I'm a part of this very seat that I'm sitting in and the body that I take up, the essence that is the one exists where I am sitting. This same essence is in charge of my heartbeat, in charge of how my body assimilates oxygen to carbon dioxide. But this intelligent essence that is in the very spot that I am sitting in knows all and is all, and every single thing that God is, I am. Just a little tiny microcosm of that, which is the allness. And as I connect to that, I know that the same is true for every other person that is on this planet, the people who can hear my voice, the people who don't even know I exist. We're all a part of that oneness. And as I breathe into my own awareness and into my own body, consciously engaging myself into that, I know that today's conversation opens my mind, opens the minds and hearts of those who can hear it. And even if you cannot, it is starting a chain reaction within the allness itself that is saying, yes, we are remembering who we are, all of us. Divine essence that is a rose, that is the planet, that is every sunset and sunrise is also me. And the glory of God is me. And as I step into the conversation, then I recognize the glory that is God in every single person that is speaking, that is listening, that is connecting. And this work is just opening us up even more to connecting with us, the everlasting beingness that is all of us, connecting from this heart space, going out further, further still. I am so grateful for that connection. I'm grateful to be here in this human body. I'm grateful to be experiencing life, to be growing and expanding. I am grateful for every single opportunity that comes as a challenge that's actually an opportunity for expansion. I am grateful for the world itself. I'm grateful for Mother Earth and how she's always giving to me. I'm grateful for God. I'm grateful for the breath. And for those who have left this planet, I'm grateful for their life and their contribution. And I'm also grateful for the knowingness that this moment is perfect in divine mind. And that I too am perfect in divine mind. And the idea that is us is perfect as we live and experience and be in the oneness. And I release all of this back out, just like a wave crashes upon the shore and then releases itself back into the ever expansiveness of the ocean. I'm releasing all these thoughts and ideas and words into the law, that beautiful fertile soil that makes all things grow. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. We let it be.
Thank you, my friend. That was beautiful. And I'm so grateful for you and your beautiful way of putting words together. Almost puts me in another realm. And I have to like, oh, wait, I have to come back. I've got to talk.
Darn, coming back to here.
Thanks, Donna. I'm going to bring in Corinne Dean. Hi, Corinne.
Hello.
See,
Hello.
you're bigger than us now.
All right, so let
I know. Why do I look so big?
No, how about that?
All right. That's
Oh, we missed you too last week, Corinne.
I know. I feel
From
like
Mother's
I've been away for a while. And I'm so grateful to be back. And Donna, thank you. That was absolutely beautiful. And I'm just coming back now too. So I'm still taken up by your words.
And we can drop into that space whenever we want.
Yeah.
And we always have that. And it's a thing. It's like you get caught up in the machine or in the life, or the whatever system that is. And then you forget, oh, wait, I can drop in.
Just drop right back in.
Let's do it.
That was beautiful.
Right? Just like take a breath and collect yourself. Restart. It's that like a restart button, right? In that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Just so beautiful. So thank you both. And I'm so excited you're here. To other of my favorite mamas who were not here for Mother's Day.
Doing another thing.
Yeah, but you know what? We're talking this month about the fight, right? And so last week we kind of got into that idea of the mother love, right? And the fierceness of a mother who's taking care of her family and all. So I think it's a legitimate thing to discuss. What does it look like to fight for other people in a spiritual sense? And how did you all get into this idea, and where did you learn to fight? So I thought we'd just delve into that. So Let me see. I have a question for you, and it is and we're all going to answer it. We'll do it like circle style, right?
Okay.
The question is, what or who are you willing to fight for, and why? And how did that impulse first emerge for you to fight?
What and who?
You know what else? Before you start, I'm going to put up what Valerie, where we started this whole concept, right? Mm-hmm. This idea of revolutionary love, and Valerie says love. This is her definition for revolutionary love. Love is a form of sweet labor, fierce, bloody, imperfect, and life-giving. A choice we make over and over again. As labor, love can be taught, modeled, and practiced. Revolutionary love, then, is the choice to enter into labor for others, for our opponents, and for ourselves in order to transform the world around us. I want to say, and so it is,
And so it is.
Right? Feels like a prayer. So so what do you and I know what you fight for, Corinne, because you and I are, cohorts.
Yes.
So whichever one wants to go.
Well,
so
I say
sorry. Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Go ahead, Donna. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, for me, the fighting part, I fight for me, you know, I fight for my own validity, for me to be seen, and not to anyone else, but to be seen to myself. And then I fight for others to help them see themselves. And it is bloody and messy, and you got to pick apart some really nasty stuff to get to the core of, holy crap, this is who I really am, and I'm valid. Oh yeah. But there's a lot of ripping past the hurt that's there to get down into the value, you know, kind of peeling back those layers of the onion. So that's the fight that I do. I even like right now when we did the treatment just now, I'm in the middle of my treatment thinking about connecting you to that allness, because that's the part that we keep forgetting. I don't know why I keep forgetting it, but I keep forgetting, oh yeah, I'm in the allness, duh. I never popped out of the universe at any moment. I'm still here. But you kind of get caught in your own mind and in your own story, and then you start to think that that's real. That's it. And then you have to claw your way back. It's this strange fight that happens that has to claw its way back to the truth of, oh yeah, I'm in essence perfect. And oh yeah, in essence, I'm valid. And that's the fight that I have all the time for myself, because I have to battle my own anxiety. And in doing that, I'm helping people understand that you're battling yourself too. And the anxiety is powerful. And that particular demon, the more we feed it, the more powerful it becomes. And I'm not saying ignore it, you know, and some can't even see it. They're so shrouded in it, they can't see any of it. So, you know, you have to kind of fight through the feeling and the emotion and the rawness and the, should I be vulnerable and not be vulnerable, and all of that to get to the core of, oh yeah, I'm cool. You know, and I got to that point when I did Life Lift with Dr. Ted Anders. Because I felt it felt like this, when they talk about the ego death, yeah, we're fighting with the monster that is our ego, that we that's eating us alive. And some people would rather make friends with it and walk and talk with it. And then there are those that are saying, no, you're in the passenger seat, and who's driving is spirit. The spirit that is me is driving, and you are my slave. I'm not slave to you. You're slave to me.
You know, you said a couple of things, and it's funny because when you were praying, and actually when I introduced us, that I used that phrase of we are all perfect and complete. And I think people fight that, like, oh, stop that. You know, who are you talking about? Who do you think you are to say that anybody is perfect, right? There was only one, you know, perfect one. That's what we're told, right? So I think that in itself, like you're saying, Donna, is a fight. And what does it mean when we're saying that, right? That to make that distinction that there is a divine and spiritual perfection that we are all part of, that we all came from, right? The human journey now, you know, is far from perfect. Right? That's where the drama comes and all of that. So it's like fighting through all of that humanness to come back to that realization that I'm already okay. I've always been okay. God doesn't make junk, right?
That's right.
Right? Remember that?
And yeah, and that's the thing. Even if it looks to the human mind that something is wrong with it, there ain't nothing wrong with it, because you cannot know beauty if you don't know what is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
For us, it's all
In the
kind
human,
of together, and then we have to make the decision as to whether or not we want to call this beautiful. That's when the choice comes in. But we forget that all of it's perfect in divine mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Including us and the story and the ego. All of it's perfect.
It's all what it needs to be.
It's all what it needs
in that moment
for us to grow and for us to experience. And then it becomes a playground for those of us who are like, I am in an experience today, you know, because before I make a decision now, instead of saying yes, you know, now I do like a drop in with myself, and I say, do I want to experience that? And if I say, no, I really don't, are you willing to give up a chunk of your time for that experience? And if the answer is no, then I very respectfully say, no, thanks. I'm not subscribing to that. Yeah.
You brought up some really interesting things, and there's a point I want to get back to, but I want to get Corinne's story next.
I've been enjoying listening. No, that was beautiful, Donna. And you guys did say we fight with ourselves, right? We fight maybe to recapture that worthiness, that idea of worthiness. So that that definitely, that's, I guess, been a lifelong fight for me. But I would so I'm ditto to everything you said, Donna, and then I'm just going to add to that for fighting for, was that part of the question too? How do we fight for others?
Well,
Where do we first start?
The first thing is, what do you fight for personally, and how did you come to that?
Okay, so that's what I thought. That was the second part of the question I wanted to address, because yes, I needed to fight for myself, but I tell you, as the way I got to that I was worthy enough to fight for myself, for me, started when I had to fight for my little sister. My parents were divorced when I was 6, so my little sister was 2. And in the process of all of that and all the craziness my parents were going through, figuring out their thing, my little 2-year-old sister kind of got, I don't want to say forgotten. She wasn't forgotten. I mean, my parents are good people, right? But I became Mama Bear. And, and it's funny because now I have a daughter who looks so much like my little sister that I sometimes get their names mixed up, because that Mama Bear, when the question was first asked, I thought, oh, my Mama Bear instincts. That's when I first really started fighting. And I realized I didn't start with my children. It started with my sister. So just as a young child, I had to learn to fight for her. And in doing so, I that kind of helped me. I think that helped me realize, well, if she's worthy to fight for, so am I, because my older sister had her, she was the older one, and she was doing her thing. If you're watching this, my sisters, I love you both, but this is how it was. This is how it was. My younger sister and I were kind of over here. My older sister was over here, and she was a child as well. So it wasn't her doing, but that's how it was. And so in learning to fight for my sister, I realized I had to fight for me too, because we had gone by the wayside, you could say, I guess. And so that's where it started for me. But it's been a constant battle, and it still is to this day, fighting for that worthiness. I'll catch myself, and my ego and I, wow, we like to duke it out, and I do so lovingly, because I realize this ego of mine that I have, this is my vehicle for getting through this world. So I respect her, but boy, sometimes she's a pain in the neck. And sometimes I have to I will be walking through the house, and I will stop and go, hold on, we are not going there today. We are not going there today. So just stop right now. And because my choice, I'm able to make that choice of where I want to be and how I want to view beauty, like you said, Donna. And we've been programmed for so many different things, and my ego's still stuck on some of that programming. But my higher self is coming in and saying, no, people, we are all cherished by God. We are all loved by God. So even this person or that person who may be making you a little crazy are equally as loved as you are. So let's go there, Corinne. That's where we're going to go today. And my ego's like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. So then that's what we do, though. And we make that choice every day.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Thank you, Corinne. That leads, really well into what I wanted to share. I was thinking last week about my parents, and my mother is very, very quiet. She's somebody who's very much in the background, but she had a really, rough life. And so when I was a kid, we had foster kids in our house. And I never before last week actually thought of that as my mother's fight, because she was in foster care, that she wanted to make sure, right, that other kids had a place to go. So that really informed my childhood. I got to see kids that were in the system. I mean, gosh, I've shared this before, that when my sister came to live with us, she had a spiral fracture her femur, you know. She was 2 years old.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
what somebody has to do to literally snap somebody's bone like that. It was just, it was just unfathomable, you know, just crazy, you know, to know that. I didn't even have to see it, right? I didn't have to see it. I just knew that somebody did some horrible thing to
Yeah.
these kids.
Mhm.
And so I think that instilled in me this want to, you know, to step up for other people. And I've been a child family advocate my whole life. But that was probably where it started. Yeah, I think that's where it started. That and the idea that it was up to us to do something, you know, that these things can't be just happening in the world and you just sit by and let it, you know, let it be. As I was raised in the Catholic faith, and I went to Catholic school when I was a kid, and I can remember learning just that idea of when you're right in your spirit, then everything else in your life works. So that became my kind of, I don't know, the place I kept coming back to, you know, to be right in spirit. And that meant doing, you know, these things on behalf of other people, you know. So there was that real sense of just life, you know, being about service. And so anyway, that's, I didn't come to fight for other people through fighting for myself, because I didn't learn to fight for myself until way later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like you see somebody, something is wrong, something's going on in your family or whatever, and you find this, like you said, the mama bear inside of you, Corinne, that I'm not gonna let that happen to my sibling or to this person or that person. You do what you want to me, but you're not
Right.
gonna mess with my little sister, or you're not gonna mess with my little brother.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That is so true. You know, and it's funny you mentioned the Catholic Church, because I was raised Catholic as well. And they are so good, you know, with social justice. I learned a lot about that too, fighting for others. You know, you look at oh, did I?
You're
Hang on
there.
a second. Did I? Okay, sorry, my screen just disappeared.
You're
But
still
okay,
here.
I'm still here. Yeah, I got all sorts of stuff going on right now. Okay, so but you learn to fight for others. You know, the saints, everybody did their thing and got burned at the stake for it, whatever. But you know, they were really good with that. But where they weren't so good, Cindy, as you probably remember, is learning to fight for yourself, saying, I am worthy. I am, you know, so that came later, as that strength that I did, you know, build that muscle of fighting for others, fighting for my little sister, you know, social justice type things growing up. It did take a while to translate to me, because we were really encouraged to, you know, humbleness is a good thing, but not self-loathing. Or I'm not quite sure what you would call it, but there was a little bit of that in my religious upbringing. And so it took a while to overcome and to learn to declare myself as perfect in all my imperfections. That makes me just perfectly Corinne, and to be happy with that.
Yeah. So, you know, what's interesting is that, like right this second, my little dog, you know, she's trying to get in on the conversation. You know, what's interesting to me is that, yes, I learned that fighting for others in the Pentecostal faith too, because you know, you're the great one who sacrificed all for someone else, which would be Jesus, right? Sacrificed everything for somebody that he didn't even know. According to my faith, that was like the ultimate. But then it kind of teaches you that, okay, you can fight for others, but you have to become a martyr.
Right. Yeah.
Somehow, if you don't get nailed to the cross, then really, are you really fighting? No.
That's a good way to put it. That's exactly it.
So when I learned that I was valid too, was when I got into Alliance of Divine Love. And they talked about the concept called the greatest degree of love, which includes me.
Right.
You know, the greatest degree of love says, I fight for you and I also hold me safe. Instead of I fight for you and sacrifice myself, including my body, my mind, my spirit, my everything. So that's the part that's like always making, and you feel almost guilty. Like I have this weird sense of guilt if I say, no, I can't sacrifice because lovingly, this is going to martyr me in the process. You know, I have to be like, hey, lovingly, no. The greatest degree of love says, how much of me can I give without nailing myself, you know, completely sacrificing my own body, for example. I can't be there for my family if my whole body is exhausted. You know,
Exactly.
I'm just like 12-hour shift on my feet, pushing myself. And then I have 3 days of that, and then 4 days of trying to recover from the 3 days. And so when you get there, you are in this state of resentment because your physical form just cannot do it anymore. But yet you really have the heart for people and you want to help. So now you have people who are caring, wonderful individuals getting beaten down, and then they start to resent the very people they're fighting for.
Exactly. That's such a great
So
point.
that greatest degree of love has to come into play, because if you don't look at you as valid too, the fight.
Well, how effective can you be if you do not take care of yourself? If you do not love yourself, if you cannot love yourself, how do you love others? That resentment kicks in. And to take care of yourself too, and by knowing you need self-care too, guess what? That opens the door for someone else to love, to take care of you too. It gives them permission. You know, you're always out there saving the world. Well, who's gonna help you? Give someone else the opportunity, and it brings more people in. It's a beautiful formula.
Corinne, you said it in so many words just now, and I want to piggyback on that to say that as I am practicing my own self-love, I'm teaching that person to fish. Because you know, you give the man the fish, right? You're fighting for them. You get them out of whatever issue they're in.
Right.
If they don't know how to fight for themselves, to put on the armor and stand for themselves, you're going to forever be battling for them.
Yes.
And nothing is going to get, it doesn't improve. But if you can empower that person to fight for themselves and see themselves as valid through your own example, right? Because they got to see us do it first. And if we start to do that and instill that in our young folks, and we start to say, okay, we're all valid, we're all, you know, assimilating life and figuring it all out as we go. But let me show you this. You can stand for someone, but also stand for you without this scary whatever. Just a little bit of self-love shows you that and now you're teaching them how to fish. And then the fight becomes their responsibility. And believe it, that's one that's going to win. Right. That's the fight that's going to win, because now they're empowered to say, wait a minute now.
That's right.
Once that happens, the illusion that is the fight itself disappears. Because it's an illusion, all of it.
Yeah.
Serafina says yes, honey.
Serafina's like, yeah.
I'm gonna, you know what?
Bring that little girl, bring her up on screen and show everybody this. There she is. Yes. That is a bundle of preciousness right there.
She's a little dog, but she doesn't know it.
No, she knows how to take care of herself.
She knows how to take care of herself.
Listen, her physical form is small, but her energy is so expansive. And you cannot tell her that she's not the biggest, baddest dog in the entire world.
I want to throw up here the intention for this. I think this is the right slide. Let me see. Yes. You know, what you were just talking about, Donna, and that idea of loving ourselves as we love others, the importance of all of it, right? That loving ourselves only, loving only ourselves is escapism. Loving only our opponents is self-loathing. Loving only others is ineffective. All three practices make love revolutionary, and revolutionary love can only be practiced in community.
Yes.
You know, and so that idea that the revolutionary love, the kind of love that we're talking about, encompasses all of it. It's not nailing yourself to the cross and being a martyr for everybody else. It's loving yourself as you teach people to love themselves, and loving even our opponents and those who seem like they're against us, just knowing that it's all part of the one, right?
Mhm.
You know,
Exactly.
I think for me, as I think, that the ideas and the lessons that I learned as a child about fighting for others, what
Mhm.
has changed for me is my definition of who is my family.
Mm.
Right? It's not just the people, that share my bloodline or that look like me or have my color skin or whatever. Is my family is everybody. My family is everyone, and I'm going to fight for your kids as much as I fight for my kids.
Mhm.
You know, that's where I'm coming from in this idea of the fight. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah.
I was just talking to a police officer that was a friend's husband. And I told him, I said, when I see the police officers go by, there's one that comes and parks right in front of our house. I want to walk over and be like, listen, there's going to be times when you just need to get out of the car in a safe place and sit and eat your lunch. It's such a simple thing, but they're out there fighting for those who cannot fight for themselves. And we who help to replenish those, in the middle of all of this. And I'm a brown person. I could be like, yo, I can't do that because what if they look at me and they might think and yada yada. I mean, there's a story back there. It's
Yeah.
not my story, but there's a story. But I'm not going to let that influence me because here's somebody who needs to be replenished, somebody who's doing hard work, And I mean, I would say hard work, but it's not hard work, it's hard work. And you're giving, 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 because that's the profession you're in. When I'm on the floor, it's a 12-hour shift. You're on your feet the entire time.
Mhm.
So that hard work,
Mhm.
the replenishment of that needs to happen. And for those of us who think that we have to get out there and do this big, elaborate thing, no, you don't. Something simple like saying, have a seat and eat lunch is you fighting for those who are doing hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Saying, I see you. I recognize your humanity. I recognize that your body must be tired,
Yeah.
And sometimes that's enough. It doesn't need to be a take up a sword and fight for you. Sometimes it's, that homeless person that needs socks in that moment,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that that's the part that we forget, that we can do small little things. Sometimes just smiling at somebody is how
Yeah.
we show the fight, I find
Mhm.
you valid enough to look you in your face and smile at you and say good morning.
Yeah.
Acknowledge your presence. Because for all that's the only time they feel valid and acknowledged. And
Yeah.
that in itself is a fight. Because you're fighting against the ego that says, this person could be dangerous, or what if they don't smile back, or
Right.
it's that internal fight that's going on at the same time. And then you say, no, I'm in charge. My higher
Mhm.
self says, wait, like Karen says, you know,
Like,
this is
not
what
today. Yeah.
we're doing.
We're going to actually, I think it's in 2 weeks, talk about the metaphorical kind of shield and swords that we use, because we all have our own, our passions and our abilities, our capabilities that we bring to life. So those are our metaphorical, kind of weapons that we're talking about. What do you use in the fight for justice? But that's going to be another conversation in probably a couple of weeks. So, how do you think the practices of wonder and grieving then like prepare us? What we've talked about these last 2 months. How does that inform the fight for social justice, as far as you're concerned?
Well, let's see. Let's see. Wonder and grieving. How does that? Well, grieving, I'll start with that one simply because I think we talked about this before with grieving, is that's something we can all relate to. We've all been through it, and grieving with a community of people, uh, if they've just had a tremendous loss, I can feel that. I can feel that within me because I have experienced it in my own life, and so then that makes me part of that community. And yes, I will fight for you if there's been an injustice done and you are grieving. That's a connector right there for me. And then of course the wonder, that idea of who are you? You are just a part of me I have not yet met. That wonder and learning about someone. So even if it is somebody, I have found myself doing this lately with our such polarized politics, that I have found myself looking at people on the other side of a viewpoint and wondering about them. Like I just did that Braver Angel thing. That was very cool. And learning about them and said, I will fight for your right to have your own opinion. That to me is very important. You are not a bad person. I'm wondering about you and I'm getting to know you. And I realize you just want what is best for you and your family. And I may not agree with you, but darn it, you're going to have that right to express your opinion, to live your life on your own terms. And so that's for me where wonder and grieving come in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's so beautiful, Corinne. It's the same feeling that I had with the wonder, because I have to drop into that, I wonder what you are feeling in this moment. And then how can I alleviate that, which is
Right.
hurting, And then that's where the little things come in. When I put it into my own little system and say, how much of this can I get involved with, And that's the part for me, with the wonder. I wonder what you're feeling and how can I stand? Have I felt that before? And if I have, then how did I alleviate it? And then I can help, show you how I got out of that fog, And then as far as the grieving is concerned, I think, honestly, I just feel like we're all grieving time, That's the one thing we all have in common. The time, the history that has happened in the past, depending on what family or what, socioeconomical, wherever you're from, color of your skin, whatever, that's, all part of it. And then sometimes day to day, we have to grieve that, which is our idea of what the future was. Either it ended because somebody's life ended and they decide to exit the planet. And so we have to now grieve not having them around for your wedding or grandkids or whatever, and then there's grieving of losing a job or grieving of, just every sunrise, every sunset, there's something. And so that part we all have in common.
Yeah.
And because we have that in common, then I say, how do I feel if I was to lose this and be in grief? And then snap into that, like Corinne was saying, and saying, oh, I can recognize that. And I can wonder about what it is you're going through. And then I can say, okay, I can stand for you because I get it. We're the same. We want the same things. We just have different ways of coming about it. And that's what's so great about CSL. And that's why I love CSL so much, because that idea that we can come from complete opposite backgrounds and yet come together and say, wait, we have this in common, and then create a world that works for both of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
It's possible.
Yeah.
And that's also why I love America so much.
Yes.
Yes. America is this beautiful melting pot of all these people that came together from different backgrounds and said, together we can be together.
We can. Because what is it? What was that? What was that metaphor someone said? It's not a pie. It's not like like if you take some, there's not gonna be enough left for me.
Right.
There's enough.
Yeah. Human rights, right? Human rights are not pie.
Right. Human rights. That's what it is. Human rights is not pie.
You have your rights doesn't mean that there's less rights for me.
There's right.
And it's possible to meet in the middle.
Yes.
It's possible.
Yeah. Yes.
But we all have to be willing.
Yes.
Meet me in the middle. Meet me in the middle to.
Yes.
So even if I don't believe in it, what you're talking about, like Corinne says, you also have the right to feel the way you feel and to be the way you are.
Yeah. Most people, it comes from for most people, it will come from a place of love, even though it seems so opposite of what you believe in. When you really dig down and talk to them, you realize, wow, this is coming from a place of love for them. They're just, number one, they're scared, or they've misunderstood, or I've misunderstood, or I'm scared. You know, it's usually one of those things. And for the most part,
Yeah.
we want such the same things.
Want the love. And that's the thing. I experienced that when I came out to my family, and they were like, oh, we're going to pray that you somehow magically decide not to be gay anymore. You know, and I could have said, oh, how dare you not see my whatever, you know,
Right.
things are valid. And I stopped and I said, wait a minute, I get it. That's terror, because my soul is now in danger. And
Yes.
my family loves me so much, they want me in the kingdom of heaven.
Right.
That was our modality. And because I'm no longer in that modality, how dare me step on that? If they want to pray, then by God, you pray for me.
Exactly.
Coming from this place of love. But while you're praying, just know that me and God are okay. So thank you.
Oh, beautiful. I like that.
So I said thank you, because that prayer, that intensity, it's
Yes.
fear, and it's, oh man, it's such a big thing. And so instead of me getting all upset and worked up into it, which I was, I had to stop myself and say, wait a minute, where's this coming from? Oh, there's that love under there.
Yes.
And that's where it was coming from. And that grief of the future and what my future was supposed to be.
Right.
And they had to grieve it. And once the grieving happened, now we're all good. Me and my family are tight again. Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting. Just time. Give it time.
And yeah.
Well, ladies, speaking about time, it is time for us to wrap it up.
There's a little
Another
red
great
flag.
conversation, another awesome conversation. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your wisdom and your stories and your authenticity. It's always so awesome.
Yeah.
So we will be continuing this conversation. I
Yes.
think we have, what do we have? 2 more Sundays in May, so the fight continues. Give a few more ideas, and I'm not sure who our guests are going to be next week, but we shall see. But thank you again, ladies, for joining
You're
us.
so welcome.
You're welcome. This was fun and beautiful, beautiful conversation. Thank
And I
you.
can't wait to talk to people on Zoom, y'all. Come meet us on Zoom.
Yes.
Continue the conversation.
We'll all be on continuing the conversation. I'd love to hear what some other people have to say about this idea. And are they seeing themselves in this? And are they learning anything? So thanks again, and we'll see you on Zoom in a little bit.
All right.
All right. Thank you. See ya. Well, that was awesome. That was awesome. And so let's see, it is time now for us to move into the next phase, which is sharing of our gifts and tithes, offering our blessings here. And so this is our affirmation. And I just want to invite you, if the conversations that we have here move you in some way, if they inspire you, if you support the work that we do here at the Center for Spiritual Living, then we would very much appreciate your financial offerings. Any gift that you can give is much appreciated. And we know that as we give, we receive. So if it's friendship that you're looking for, you need to give friendship. And if it's love, then you give love. And if it's money, then you give money. It becomes the seed, and we would love to be the recipients of that. So I will say our blessing here, and I invite you to say it to yourself. Also, we make giving really easy here. We have something called text to tithe. So if you have a smartphone, what you do is once you set it up, you text to the phone number that's going across the screen, 352-320-5110, and you put the amount that you want to give to the center. And when you hit send, it goes from your account to ours. And it's just beautiful and easy. So we invite you to take advantage of that. And so here is the affirmation. We invite you to make it your own. It is the nature of life to give of itself. As it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom, it is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. I am so very grateful. And I hope you really feel it when you say that to yourself. I am blessed and I am a blessing. And just feel that and know that in your heart, that people's lives are better because you're here. And so we're going to change that up. What else did I want to say? I wanted to thank all of the people who helped us out yesterday. We had our cleanup day at CSL Ocala, and I'm not sure, we had 12, 13 people that showed up and came with mops and buckets and rags and sponges and cleaners and rakes and all kinds of things, and really did a nice job on the center. The sanctuary is sparkling and it smells great, and we are just looking forward to the time that we can come back together, which will probably be soon. So do be watching. There's going to be another cleanup date. We didn't quite get everything done, but we're definitely on our way. And I think that's it. So our prayer for protection, again, another thing I invite you to make yours. This comes from our sister organization at Unity and James Dillett Freeman, his prayer. And it goes like this: the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And I just affirm that all is well in your life, and that any challenges you may be going through turn into stepping stones for that greater yet to be. And so I wish you much love and a fabulous week. And I hope to see some of you on Zoom in a little bit. Thanks for joining us. Take care.